Hi, I'm Thomas Samson Obole. Welcome to today's class. So in today's lecture, we'll be looking at sales. Sales. We will be looking at sales, the act of selling. Sales. Now, in a class before this, we talked about marketing, if you remember. And we said that in marketing, the purpose of marketing is for the customer to be able to remember you, such that when the customer needs to make a decision around any transaction, you are always seen as an option. You are always called to remembrance. It's not that you are an afterthought after they've already made their purchase. But sales is the actual transaction itself, where the customer actually drops money for your value, for whatever value you are providing. Now, one of the first foundation for sales is something we call trust. Trust. Now, when it comes to building trust for when it comes to your client, your customers, for your service or product, the first thing you need to remember is you build trust in little things, in small things. It's not about starting so big or so large. In those little inconsequential things, that is where we first build our trust with our customers. So, for example, as you are doing your marketing, you told the customer, I will call you tomorrow, I will talk to you next week, I will get back to you, I will do this and all of that. Those little things that you made as a promise or as a feedback, or I will check up on you, or I will call you, or I will send you a message, those things may not mean much, but going through to fulfill those things builds trust between you and your customers. It's in the little things. So, for example, one of the simplest way to build trust today is through social media. Now, somebody is thinking, how do you build trust through social media? There are some people that you know that, oh, they will post at least once in a week, or they will post every Monday, or they will post every Friday, or they reply their messages, or they reply their emails. Now, those little things that technically nobody is holding you ransom for not fulfilling builds trust. Because when you go ahead and still do it, irrespective of despite the fact that there is nobody holding you ransom, then you are building trust. So we build trust in little things, because you need to understand that the customer most of the time needs to trust your word enough about the value you said you are going to provide to pay you. So, except you are selling things like goods, especially branded goods like the Gucci's, the Versace's, the tomatoes, the pepper, that the customer already has an idea of what to expect. If you are not in such area, it means that you need trust to sell. And you must be able to build this trust, because without trust, most of the time transactions will not occur. That is why you hear some people would say things like, oh, I can never buy from an online vendor. And we've said that in the 21st century, it's important that we are able to take advantage of the online space. So if you are saying you cannot buy from an online vendor, the question is, why should somebody else who is online buy from you? So it means that you must be able to build trust. Two, another way to build trust is by what I call freebies. Now, freebies is not just about sharing product, but about sharing knowledge. So you are into fish processing, for example. Letting people understand how the processing occurs builds trust. I'm not saying do a detailed lecture on how you do fish processing, but just give them a walkthrough. Just give them a tidbit, a snippet, something. Now, those little things that you are doing, the person goes, oh, so this person is actually the one doing the fish. Oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. Oh, so that person, what you are doing gradually is building trust. Take, for instance, I want to believe that majority of us in this class have probably never met me in person. Why did you go ahead to register for a class on business when you don't even know whether I can teach on business or not? Because there is a level of trust that has been built. There is a level of trust that has been built. And that level of trust is why you are willing to say, okay, I will pay for this service even before I get anything out of it. So your willingness to pay for the service is built on the fact that there is a trust already built. there is a trust already built. So as a business that wants to go into selling right now, you need to ask yourself, how much trust have I generated? How much trust have I built between myself and the customers that they are able to say, oh, let's go all the way out? So, building trust. Number 2 is building a common ground, or having a common ground. So remember that we said before now that what you want to provide is money, but what you need in exchange, is value. What you want to provide is value in whatever way you want to provide it, and what you need for that value is money. We said that. So it is money for value, value for money. However, we also said that we need to always remember that as a customer, the money is important to the customer. The money is important to the customer. I always use this example when we do a live class. Usually, I will get 2 phones. I will get one substandard phone. Okay, not really substandard, one cheap phone that probably should not cost more than maybe more than 15K. Then I get usually my S10 most of the time. I don't know what the value is. I think in the last class I used one of my Vita's phones that cost about 900K if I'm not wrong. So, and I give the offer usually, and I ask anybody in class that has whether 2,000 or 5,000 naira, give me your 5,000 naira cash and you collect this phone that is worth 50,000 naira immediately. Nobody raises their hand. Everybody just looks at the phone like, At times, I even bring out a biro and say, this biro was prayed for by pastors. Who needs the biro? Nobody raises their hand. Everybody's just looking at me like, what else? But when I bring out a 900K phone and I say, if you can give me 2,000 naira cash, you can collect this phone. People suddenly start bringing out money because they want to collect a 900K phone for 2,000 naira. Interpretation, it wasn't that they did not have money or access to money, but they felt when I brought out this first option that the money they were to give was higher than the value. So this means that, because we said getting common ground, this means that if my money, or if the money of the customer is more than the value the vendor wants to provide, there will be no transaction. You can preach from now till tomorrow, transaction will not occur. If it occurs, it's probably because you wore them down, but to get a repeat sales will be hard. So this is the customer, this is the vendor. If my money is more than the value, transaction does not occur. Same thing, if the value is equal to the money, then at this point I am going to have a whole lot of debates, because the customer will start asking things like, are you delivering? Are you this? Are you giving us this? So for example, I was giving an example somewhere and I said, imagine I want to sell a house in Asokoro, Abuja, a duplex, and I say the duplex will be sold for 5 million naira. Original papers, everything authentic and all. Now you would realize that at 5 million naira, nobody is going to question anything. They just come and quickly pay like, because they believe the land is even more than 5M. But imagine if I say I want to sell the house for maybe 50 million or 100M. When the customer comes, if they believe that the value is equivalent to the money, they will start checking other things that might be beneficial. Interpretation. The reason why you have your customers questioning, okay, looking for other freebies or things, or looking for extra, additions and all of that, or questioning your process and all of that, is most of the time they feel your value is equivalent to their money, so they want to be sure that they are getting the best deal possible. But on the last part, if they believe the value they are getting is more than the money they are paying, then you have a sharp transaction. This is where you want to be. Worst case scenario here, but you don't want to be here. So how can I ensure the customer understands that the value I am giving them is more than the money? Remember that more than the money they are paying. Remember we said in one of our classes that Value is a perception. Value is a perception. So it's not like value is it is not always a real thing. It can be something that the vendor has been able to build in a way that you believe so much in it. So can we find a common ground between us and the customer, where the customer does not feel cheated, where the customer does not feel taken advantage of, where the customer feels like the king? Because in sales, you must find that common ground. And that common ground must be properly communicated during marketing. It must be properly communicated during marketing. You want the customer coming in feeling that, oh, I am getting the best deal ever. I am getting the best deal out of this whole process. That is what we want to try to get out of this. So I want us to try something out this week. See, from the customers you've already built trust with, you've built common ground with, you cannot sell without selling. You cannot sell without giving an offer. So start meeting people with your product, with your service. Interact with them. Get a reason. If they are saying no, find out why they are saying no. It's important. Find out why they are saying no. Then the number 3 thing we'll be looking at is your costs or your price. Because remember, we just said in number 2 in common ground is you want to ensure that they believe the value is more than the money they are paying. But how do you set your price? So because we are farmers, in the next class, I am going to try and take my time. I hope if it's going to be a very long video, I will try to break it in parts. For you to, I will use our business to show you how we come up with our own costing. Because one of the issues I've realized is a lot of people do not know how to do proper costing for their business. So we'll take time to do a costing for using our own business, but I'll use 2 or 3 products only to explain how we do our costing. And I hope it will be able to help you to also do proper costing for your product. Because if you want to make sales, your price matters. I hope this makes sense. So have a great week.